Here to talk about the faulty foundation that built residential segregation is Gene Slater, who has consulted on housing issues at the local, state, and federal level, and he's also the founder of CSG Advisors, one of the leading voices on affordable housing. And Gene is also the author of the newly released Freedom to Discriminate: How Realtors Conspired to Segregate Housing and Divide America. Gene, welcome to Amplified, and thank you so much for being with me.
Sure, pleasure.
So you have been around the housing industry for decades, and
yes,
in the early days, it wasn't always segregated. So give us a little bit of the history. How did we get to this place where the housing situation in America is so divided?
Yeah, I think it's to unpack the myths behind segregation. One of the myths that the realtors promoted was that segregation was normal and natural, that American cities had always been segregated, and something that came to be believed both by whites and by blacks around the United States. And that's not true. Segregation, residential segregation was invented in the same way that the airplane was invented. It was a creation of a few individuals starting around the same time as the airplane in the early 1900s that was designed as a way of marketing homes. So if you go back to American cities at the beginning of the 1900s, cities were racially mixed, neighborhoods were racially mixed, blocks were racially mixed. This was true in the South, where you had concentrations, people lived a block apart, several blocks apart. It was true on blocks in Louisville, Washington, Baltimore, St. Louis. We had many racially mixed blocks. It was true generally throughout the country. People lived where they could afford. If you were poor, you lived in poorer neighborhoods, but they were themselves racially mixed. And one of the quotes I came across was from a black real estate broker in Los Angeles in 1904, who said, "The Negroes of this city have prudently refused to segregate themselves, and many of us live in many of the better areas with better infrastructure and better housing in the city." 13 years later, an African American in the same city, an African American in the same city said, we've been encircled by invisible walls. The whites have surrounded us and prevented us from going around those walls. So segregation was created during these years as a tool originally designed. I mean, where this came from, actually, if you want to look at the very first place in the country where this was set up, of the notion of restrictive covenants to limit where people could live, was in Berkeley, a mile and a half from the University of California campus, by a developer who was building high-end subdivisions and decided, along with the other covenants for selling homes and controlling what could happen, on the price of homes and setbacks and street trees, added one that no non-Caucasian could ever live there except for a servant. And this spread very quickly. This is 1905, spread very quickly as realtors, members of early real estate boards, adopted this same approach and used it on upper class subdivisions, middle class subdivisions, in a few years, working class subdivisions, and then in existing neighborhoods went around and had homeowners sign covenants that went into effect when 3/4 of the people were there. Covenants basically limited what your neighbors could do. That was the purpose of covenants. And by the 1920s, almost all new housing and about half of existing homes in the country were covered by these covenants. This was how the realtors, members of these all-white real estate boards, through the multiple listing service, came to become effectively a cartel that could set prices on real estate services and controlled 80% of sales. They created segregation during these early years, and then institutionalized it.
And what's so nefarious about this is as you break all this down, I mean, I want people to really kind of sit with how ridiculously nefarious this entire thing was. And I'm glad that you used the language of cartel, because the National Association of Realtors that was created out of this, or I should say to facilitate and foster this residential discrimination by writing white papers and publications and having, professors teach these classes with all these claims that baked in their discriminatory viewpoints, that this was an entire wave and movement of racism that ended up being baked into policy because the same National Association of Realtors that created all these policies and practices then went on to form or help form the Federal Housing Administration. Can you talk to us about the roots essentially of the precursors of HUD and how that was formed?
Right. So think of it was the National Association of Real Estate Boards, which were all these little, they changed their name after fair housing in the 1960s to the National Association of Realtors, precisely to try and distance themselves from this past. So in this era, as I said, so these all-white boards in every city in the country created national code of ethics against selling to minorities in white neighborhoods. They promoted a myth, it was an axiom, so it was a scientific truth, that a minority moving into a white neighborhood would lower property values. In fact, that wasn't true, precisely because those people who were discriminated had to pay more, often 20% or 30% more, because they were restricted. But they created this and needed the textbooks, the appraisal manuals throughout the United States in the 1920s. During the Depression, at the President's Housing Conference that led to basically all the programs of the housing programs in the New Deal, the real estate industry, the realtors were the organized real estate industry of the country. The home builders, the appraisers, all were spin-offs of the realtors, the property managers, the appraisals, all of these. So they dominated this conference and they laid out the idea that the Roosevelt administration adopted, in many ways a brilliant idea, for a federal housing administration that would help ramp us out of the Depression by providing long-term, fixed-rate, low down payment mortgages that often made it less expensive to buy a home than to rent one. Before that, you would have to put up 25 to 50% down.
And for who? Those were specific.
And that's program,
where, actually, I want you to hold that thought, Gene. I got to take a break, but I'm going to come back, and then I want you to get into that piece of it, who these loans actually were for. We have to take a break. We'll be right back on Amplified. Stay tuned. I am back with Gene Slater, who is talking to us about how realtors conspired to segregate housing and ultimately divide America. Gene, welcome back. But right before the break, you were starting to share with us how the realtors who had a huge conspiracy that was lucrative for them to ensure that white people only were able to live around white people and to box all the rest of us out of real estate, how they ended up advising the creation of the Federal Housing Administration. Please continue.
Right. So the realtors, the National Association of Real Estate Boards, were the key lobbyists for the creation of the Federal Housing Administration and the key implementers of it. Their chief underwriter became the chief underwriter of the FHA. They created the maps for FHA. Realtors in each city were consulted in the drafts of what became the redlining maps. Everybody today talks about redlining maps. At the time, they were actually secret. The NAACP never got a hold of these, for many years afterwards. So, what the way they designed FHA was on this basic principle that selling homes to minorities in white neighborhoods would reduce property values. And therefore, as a matter of pure risk, pure economic risk, having nothing to do with prejudice, because the federal government couldn't itself be prejudiced, but simply to lower risk, they created redlining maps. They said that they would not make loans in an all-new suburb for a new developer unless there were racial covenants. And they redlined existing areas and said, we won't make loans in white neighborhoods to minorities. And of course, we won't make loans in mixed neighborhoods. So minorities basically weren't served at all by this program. Less than 2%
and all
of
that
the
this was
loans
a
went to
lie. It wasn't
minorities.
that And all this
Yes.
was a lie. It wasn't that minorities were at risk, because what we actually know and what you've written about is that the property values ultimately increase because now you've got this massive demand, and when it's hard to get access, right? When black people can't actually get access
Right.
to a lot of properties, they're willing to pay a premium for the ones that they can get. So you've got this whole nasty lobby that, frankly, all of this was about perpetuating racism. And so, as you talk about in your book, I want you to break down this idea of how freedom as a chant and a rallying cry and the freedom to discriminate ultimately became the ethos of this entire housing segregation scheme, and then fundamentally the framework for what we know as the conservatives and the Republican Party today.
Right. So put yourself in the shoes of the Realtors during World War II, who had developed this entire elaborate system that perpetuated itself through their own code of ethics, through expelling any member who would insult minorities, and through FHA. Then, during the war, here's a war fought for equal freedom against racist dictatorships. They were threatened by this. And two of the things that came out of the war, one was studies showing from their own appraisers that this property value idea was a myth, that minorities didn't lower property values, often raised them. So they needed a different argument. And then at the same time, in Shelley versus Kramer, the NAACP and others had the Supreme Court overturn the idea that courts could enforce racial covenants as violated the 14th Amendment. So realtors were still committed to this same racial system, the same system which made them afraid of selling to a minority white neighborhood because they would lose all their future customer base who they had sold on this idea that any minority would destroy your values. Okay? So they turned to freedom. They turned to freedom of association, which was being used at the same time by Southern segregationists to defend Jim Crow, the idea that this was to prevent minority GIs returning from the war to move into covenanted houses. And they said, well, freedom of association is for everybody. It's a basic American freedom. Actually, it had never been part of the Constitution. Then the NAACP and advocates, civil rights advocates, part of the civil rights movement, started getting states and localities to pass fair housing laws in the 1950s. I should say, by the way, one brief interruption to this. Right after Shelley versus Kramer, after the court said people could live anywhere, the California Realtors proposed a U.S. constitutional amendment to overturn the 14th Amendment to legalize apartheid in the country.
We don't.
And then
I wish we had time to go deep on that, but we
can do this
don't.
more quietly.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me turn to the 1960s now. So here's the civil rights movement using the idea of freedom advocated by Martin Luther King, of shared freedom, that your freedom depends on everybody else's, to pass fair housing laws. In response, California Realtors, as part of a national effort, proposed a state constitutional amendment to overturn fair housing laws, to prohibit there ever being a limit on residential discrimination. This was a ballot proposition in 1964 called Proposition 14. But how do they, as realtors, in
Gene,
a
I got to break in a second.
state,
So,
yes, okay. How do they, in a liberal, moderate state, convince white homeowners who don't want to see themselves as being prejudiced to be in favor of such an amendment? They do so by using freedom of choice.
And they're still using that today. Gene, I so appreciate you coming on. They're still using that today. Thank you so much for breaking all of this down. I wish that we had more time, and so I'm going to need you to come back and talk more about all of this. But Freedom to Discriminate, pick it up. Gene Slater's new book just out, talking about how realtors have conspired to segregate housing and divide America, and it's ultimately the blueprint of the Republican Party today. Gene, thank you so much for joining me on Amplified.